Hi, welcome back to Hollie Hobbies. Let me show you how to create a pinwheel flower wreath using poly burlap mesh. I love this design because it looks so full and detailed, but it's actually super simple once you learn the technique. If you've never tried the pinwheel method before, don't worry, I'm breaking it down step by step so you can follow right along. So grab your crafting supplies and let's get started. Hi, welcome back to Hollie Hobbies. Today we are going to do a fun petal that I haven't done before, and we are going to do a super cute pinwheel wreath. And I will be using an 8-inch sign for this. We have 2 rolls of poly burlap mesh and a 12-inch wire wreath frame. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is connect a cable mount with some E6000 glue, and that'll give it time to dry while we're working on our design. And you can find these at the hardware stores. They are next to the cable mounts or the zip ties. And I will use some E6000 glue. And the trick with this glue, which I learned recently from my husband, is to place the glue on each contact that you're going to be using. And then you want to let this sit for 2 to 3 minutes. You don't want to add it right now. You want it to get nice and tacky before you connect the 2 surfaces. So we're going to let that sit, and then we'll attach it and let that dry. So I have these surfaces with the E6000 glue. They have set for about 5 minutes. Everything is nice and tacky, and now you can connect surface to surface. So that is the trick with the E6000 glue. It was in the directions, but I never read it. Did not know that that's how you have to do this until my husband mentioned that to me. You're going to want to let this sit overnight, and the cable mounts are the perfect way to attach metal signs, because if you try to use hot glue, it's not going to hold up in the different elements. The humidity, the cold, it's just not going to stick. So the metal surfaces get a little tricky, and these cable mounts and that E6000 glue are the perfect way to go for these signs. The first thing we're going to do is add some of this plastic embroidery mesh into the center of our wreath frame. And you can buy this at most crafting stores. I have it linked in my Amazon store. I also buy these from Hobby Lobby. They come in a pack, and this is a size 5, which means the holes are a lot bigger than the size 7, and it's really easy to get your zip ties through. So all I'm going to do is trace out the center of my wreath frame with the Sharpie, and we'll cut it out and attach it with zip ties. And I have my plastic mesh attached to the inside of the wreath frame, and I have 2 zip ties per section. Since we're using poly burlap mesh, I'm going to cut it with my wood burner tool. And I am cutting on a tempered glass cutting surface, which is placed over my cutting mat so I can see the measuring lines. And this helps to seal those edges and drastically reduce the frame. We're going to need 20 pieces of each color cut at 10 inches. So we're going to do a pinwheel petal, and we're going to prep all of our petals first before we add them to the frame. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it factory edge, the finish edge on the left and right, move it at an angle, bring the bottom corner up to the top, and form a triangle. And then I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to just pinch this top part here, which is going to show me the center mark. It's a little hard to see, but you find the center and you fold it, that one corner down to the top there. And then once you have this, you flip it over and you do the same exact thing. I fold that down, and I like to kind of pinch the point and give it a little tug there. And then I come over to my mat and I come in 2 inches, and I pinch and grab the sides together, and I'm going to use a silicone rubber band. You can also use a zip tie. I like these rubber bands. I have them linked on my Amazon store. I use them all the time for prepping petals. And then we've just made a pinwheel petal, and if you flip it over, it looks exactly the same on the back side. Pretty close to the same. This one's over a little bit more, so when I use it, I'm going to use this side. And there we have our pinwheel petal. Let's do some more together. We have our 10 by 10 inch piece of mesh with our finish edges on the left and right, and we'll go ahead and rotate that. Bring the bottom corner up to the top. And you could find your center mark by measuring it, but I'm just folding it in half to get that indentation right here in the top, so I can see that mark just slightly there, so I know that that's the center. And we bring that down, forming another triangle, flipping it over, and doing that same thing with the other side. And I'm just going to give the point a little tug. Coming in 2 inches, pinching on one side, bringing it to the center, and bringing the other side to the center. And adding our rubber band at that 2 inch mark. Now the 2 inch mark is important because it's going to make sure that when we place our petals on the wreath frame, we'll connect it around where the silicone rubber band is, and that way all the petals are going to be at the same level. You're not going to have any that are up here, down here. Everything's going to be at the right height when you connect it at that 2 inch mark, when you stay the same for each petal. So this petal is really fun. We're going to do the pinwheel, the tucked pinwheel wreath, but you can also use this petal as a regular flower petal without tucking it. But it's a really fun petal to do. And I really like the look of it. I think it would be a great petal to use for leaves of flowers. And important, we're coming up that 2 inch mark. Putting our rubber band right at that 2 inch mark. So we have 40 petals to prep here, 20 of the salmon color and 20 of our cream. And I like to get all the prep done ahead of time. And then when we put it all together, it goes fairly quickly. I have 20 petals cut, and now I'm going to trim off the end so there's about a ½ inch there. And then we're going to prep the cream ones next. And I have my 20 cream prepped, and I will trim off the ends like we did on the peach color. I have my petals prepped in the peach and the off-white. I have 20 of each, and the ends are cut off to a ½ inch. And now we're going to attach them to our wire wreath frame. So what we're doing is we're adding our petals on this #2 bar. I always name them from the out going in. And we are simply tucking the ends in each of the petals. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach it on the #2 bar. And for this first row, I'll be attaching 2 zip ties because we want the petals to be nice and straight. So if we just attach one, see how it angles this way? Well, in order to straighten that up, we want to crisscross our zip tie at the other angle. And by doing that, you'll see how that just straightens itself out. And when you look on the back, you see that the zip ties are crisscrossed. So once you get your petal on, trim off your zip ties, and then you can slide your petal over and tuck it right in that next petal there. So we're going to create this pinwheel pattern here, and I had to play around a little bit to decide how many petals I wanted to add per section. Originally, I did 7 per section, and I felt like it was just too tight and you really couldn't get that pinwheel effect. So I changed it to 5 per section. And what we're doing is we're adding them onto this #2 bar. I always name them from the outside going in. And I'm using 2 zip ties per petal here. And what I'm doing is I'm crisscrossing the zip ties. So if I just did one, this petal is angled this way. And I'm going to crisscross my zip tie. And what that does is it straightens up your petal and makes it nice and straight. And we only have to do this on the outside row here. Once we get onto that plastic mesh, we no longer need to do this. So this is, I readjusted the count to 5 per section. And then what we do is we just slide it over and we tuck this end into the open end of the petal. And we're just going around alternating our colors. And going around on that #2 bar, crisscrossing our zip ties. And then once you get them on that #2 bar, you just slide it over and tuck that in right into the other petal there. And we're not going on the crossbars, we're going onto that bar. That way we could slide our petals back and forth to get them the way we want. And then when you flip it over, you could see that the zip ties are all crisscrossed. Now what we can do on the back is we can go around and tuck all of them in each other on the back as well. And we have one more section to go. And this last section we have 4, so I'm just going to try to slide everything to get it even here. So this last section right here, we were only able to add 4 so we could keep within our same color combination here. And you're just going to adjust a little bit as you need to. You're not even going to notice there's not 5 in that section when we're finished here. So when we flip it over, let's finish tucking in those other ones. And we've just completed our first outside row. And now we're going to come onto the plastic mesh with some more petals. And this time we'll only have to use 1 zip tie since we're coming onto that plastic mesh. And we're going to just come down about like so. And I think that will be a good distance. So when we add our sign, we could still get lots of that petal peeking through. And we can see both rows of petals here. So let me go ahead and add this, and then I'll measure it so you have a gauge for the distance. And I'm just coming right through the plastic mesh, coming over a few squares and going around that silicone rubber band. That way our petals are all going to be the same height. And let me go ahead and measure this. And it looks like we are 2.5 inches in from the inner ring, the number 4 bar. So now we're going to continue just like we were doing before, but coming onto our plastic mesh. These we can't scoot, so you want to make sure that you get them where you want when they're tucked in. Coming over a few of those squares and securing your petal right over that silicone rubber band or zip tie, whichever one you used. And that gives us our pinwheel effect. So I'm going to go through and start adding this next row of petals, alternating my colors, coming down approximately 2.5 inches. And it doesn't have to be perfect or exact. I'm just giving you a gauge for how I'm doing this particular one. And this is up to you if you want to go higher, lower, completely up to you. And I just like to put my petal on, then I could kind of see the bars there. And this is why I like using the number 7 mesh, because the holes are very big and you can get almost any size zip tie through them. So I'm coming on my last 2 petals here. And with this last one, we're going to tuck it in there and put this other end in the back. So it just continues with that pinwheel effect there. So we just tuck it here and put this end up and tuck it in there. And that will complete our pinwheel pattern here. And it looks like I have 3 white left and 1 of the peach left out of the 20 that we cut. So that is all gonna depend how many you use, is how close you want to put them together. That was a pretty close guesstimation of how many petals that we needed. And we've just added all of our petals. And when we flip it around, you could see our circle right there. And that completes our second row. And I think it looks so beautiful in that salmon and off-white combination. And we will be adding our sign. Now, if you wanted to, you could use the holes in the sign instead of the cable mount. I personally don't like using the holes. We will be covering the holes up with some decorative stickers. So now we're going to add our sign with that cable mount that we secured with our E6000 glue and finish up this design. And for the cable mount, you can add it with the zip tie. They could go through this way. This way, you can use a pipe cleaner, floral wire, however you want to add it. I am going to try to do it with a zip tie here. Let me see. It's going to go like this and through my cable mount and bring it up this way. I'm gonna see if this is going to work. And everything looks nice and even. And now I'm just simply going to secure my zip tie. And those cable mounts just make it so handy. And when we flip it over, we have our super cute pinwheel wreath here. And now let's find something to cover up those holes. And what I like to do is I purchase these little stickers from Hobby Lobby, and that's how I like to cover up my holes. I just pick a sticker that I like that one would be pretty with this peach, or we can do the flat. I just find one that I like, and I'll use a dab of hot glue and secure them right to this over the holes. Could do a little sparkle. And that is my solution. I'll go back with the dab of hot glue and make sure they're nice and secured there. And now all we have to do is add a zip tie for our hanger. And I'll just take it through the first 2 bars. And if you're selling this or giving it away as a gift, I would definitely finish the back with a piece of felt. Just trace your wreath frame, and then you could zip tie it right to the frame. Or you can use some foam core, whatever you want to use for the back. And there you have our fun pinwheel flower wreath. And that completes our design for today. I hope that you had fun crafting your pinwheel wreath with me today, and that you'll come back to my channel and craft with me some more. In the description box down below, you will find the link to my Amazon store, where I list all my favorite crafting supplies that I use in my tutorials. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. And if you ring that bell, you will receive notifications when I release new tutorials each week. Thanks for watching, Hollie Hobbies. From my heart to yours. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow me for more wreath and crafting ideas. Thanks for watching, Hollie Hobbies. From my heart to yours.